Welcome back. Lee Newman, Coffee with Lee. Got Helen Phillips with me here today, and as you know, we're talking about winterization for the houses, the cars, the gardens, the fire department, the things that have to be done. Now, Helen is going to talk to us about the plants out in your yard, and I know my wife has a difficult time. I have to carry them in and carry them out and carry them in and carry them out during the different seasons. So maybe Helen can give us some tips, or me some tips today, that will save me some of that back-breaking chore. Welcome, Helen.
Thank you very much.
How are you today?
I'm great.
Can you help me with this situation?
Well, I'll tell you, we're still going to carry our plants in and out, but there are a few things we could do to make you not carry them so far. And one is as simple as there are little roller things that you put the plant on, and once you get it over the threshold, you can just roll it through the house.
I have a set of hand trucks that I've been carrying these things on. And they go in the garage, especially bougainvillea. As I mentioned to you earlier, we have one in the back, and it's a great big pot like this. And we lived in the islands once, and it was great having those. And you could just stick it in the sand, and this thing would grow. Well, it's not that simple here for bougainvillea, but they give such a beautiful flower. And so we try to protect it as much as we can, and it's in the garage in the wintertime and back. And of course, it loses all its leaves and just dry stems or runners that come off of that thing. But you put it back out in the springtime, and then, I don't know, it's midsummer, I guess, or later summer when it really starts to bloom again. So you don't have a lot of months with the bougainvillea. Well,
bougainvillea is a little bit of a different plant in that when you bring it in the winter, you know, into your garage or wherever you're putting it, you want to quit watering it. Do you quit watering yours?
Yes.
Yeah.
In fact,
so it has to have a totally restful period with no bothering.
Okay.
And then in the spring, it will let you know when it's time to water again, because with no help from you, the leaves start coming out, and that tells you, oh, time to start watering.
Well, another thing we noticed about it too is fertilization of this plant. We had not, in the first part of the summer, put any fertilizer on the plant, and I told Jan, I said, you know, I think we need to put a little fertilizer on there, and she did, and 2 weeks later it bloomed out beautiful. So it needed that fertilizer for the blooms to come on out, I guess. It had turned green, the leaves were. Anyway, we're getting off on her flowers and my flowers, and what we really want to talk about today is winterization, and another thing that was brought up is when to cut plants or shrubs or bushes, when to cut them back.
Okay. Well, first let's talk about bringing the plants in, like you were saying, because we better get to doing that. I mean, you know, the weather's already dipped down once, and so most people probably have protected already. But before it gets really cold, tender plants have to come in. So it's a great idea to spray them really well with just plain, with your hose, just water. You'd want to wash them off, and you're going to wash off some insects that you probably don't want coming in your house, you know.
Well, I never thought about that either.
Yeah, and they'll be under the leaves, and so you really have to give it a good squirt and get it nice and clean, drip dry, and then bring them in.
Okay.
Yeah, so a little bit of that. Also, I just did a garden club program, and the lady was asking, she has a big ficus tree, which is a wonderful indoor tree, but we take it out in the summer and it grows like crazy. She said, mine is so big, I can hardly get it back in the garage. What do I do? And I said, well, you just get your big pruning shears and go after it. I mean, so it is also time to reshape all those plants, you know, to cut them back to a manageable size.
Is that the best time to do that, is in the fall? Is that the best time, or does it matter if you cut them in the spring?
It doesn't really matter on the house plant type things.
Okay.
Just cut them to shape and whatever. But for the outdoor plants, it is a great time to prune. In the winter, when leaves have fallen off, you can see the structure of a tree or a shrub, and if there are any limbs that cross each other, that's a bad thing. That's not a good thing. So you take off either one of them. You can shape them properly. plants don't like to be too dense, and so you can thin them out, and that lets more air come in for the health of the plant. So it is a great time to prune.
So I have some smaller trees in my yard, and I know in the summertime when I'm cutting the grass and you're on the ride lawnmower, these things will knock you off the lawnmower, especially wearing a cap you can't see. So now would be the time for me to go out there and take care of those lower limbs, so next summer I won't have that problem.
That's a great time. Yes,
Good.
It is.
One question that I've been asking, will a palm tree survive, one of these Florida palm trees in LaGrange, Georgia?
Yes, if you want to give it as protected a location, if you know in the winter that the wind comes from where does it come from? The northwest, I think most of our wind comes from. So if you could put it on the southeast side of your house,
okay,
you're going to get a lot more protection than if it were out there with the blast coming at it.
And it'll grow, and it'll be a normal palm tree as you would see in Florida or in South Georgia.
Yeah, and there are hardier palms and less hardy, but we do see some. Columbus has quite a few palms growing. They're a little bit south of us, but nevertheless, if you're going to get them in a protected place, you should be able to grow them.
So if you're going to bring one of those in, you need to search around your yard and find an area that where the trees or a house or a building will break the wind from them?
Right,
okay.
Right.
All right. Now, another question that you were asked a while ago, and I was raised up, and Philip was raised up the same way, is to wrap the plants up outside with plastic.
Yeah, that's not a practice that's done anymore. I mean, mostly, if we're recommending plants for a landscape, let's say, we're going to recommend hardy plants. You know, we're not going to tell you to plant something that's even a borderline kind of a thing for your landscape needs. If you need specialty plants like that, there are large containers that you and I don't want to pick up. But that's where you'll put a specialty plant that will need more protection.
Okay.
And then you'll bring it in to have more protection somewhere, you know. But
you've got to sort of hide it when the harsh winter time comes on.
Exactly.
Okay, now we've had one dip in the weather that's been down, I don't know, what, 32, 33 degrees, even I think 27 one morning, according to the news here in LaGrange, was colder than in Atlanta. And we're going to have some more of those days.
Oh,
so immediately, people need to start.
Yes, they do.
Okay, well, this show should air midweek next week, and that's enough time, I think, that people need to get busy.
Lee, another thing that it's very appropriate to do, and you better get to doing it, is change out colors in your flower containers or your beds, particularly coming up toward your house. You know, plants like pansies just are so hardy, and they're beautiful when you put them in. Take a little bit of a rest in the coldest of times, but in the spring they're right back just growing.
What about mulching with these? You know, people put pine straw around them. Some people put pine bark, different kinds of mulch. I guess you call that mulch.
Yeah,
that goes around them.
That's mulch.
If you put it at the beginning of winter, when spring comes out and everything is so pretty, the mulch doesn't look good. The pine straw is dark and matted and walked in and doesn't look very good. So is that really the right time to do it, or should you wait till spring and put in fresh mulch and pine straw?
Pine straw is it's a good thing to use because it does decompose. That's what's happening to it, is decomposing. Well, when that happens, it's enriching your soil.
Okay.
You know, it's adding fertilizer and humus to the soil, but you do have to replenish it twice a year. People like it down now, pretty soon now, because you get this fresh look for the winter.
And does it protect the roots too, I guess?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it protects the plants somewhat.
It protects the plants.
Okay.
Yep. A lot of people are smart though, and they wait until all the leaves fall off the trees. If you put it down right this minute and the leaves are still up there, pretty soon your leaves are going to cover up your pine straw.
Well, yeah, I've tried that too. And you take a blower, and you can't rake the leaves out. You try to blow the leaves out, you know, and half your pine straw disappears with that.
So maybe it's a little wiser to wait till the leaves fall and then put your pine straw down. And now you've got a leaf layer, and you've got a pine straw layer, so you've enriched even more.
All right, now your grass that's outside. I've always been told lime in the fall and fertilize in the spring. Is that the proper way to go with it?
That's a good way to go. You don't really want to fertilize in the fall because you're not trying to encourage growth, you know, because it's going to get zapped probably. What they do in the fall, though, is probably getting a little bit late now, but they cast rye seed so that you will have a green.
Yeah.
It just grows right in the lawn, and then when it gets warm again, it dies away. But you can have a beautiful emerald green lawn all winter if you do that.
I used to do that on a pasture, and it made it. I mean, it didn't grow up very well for the horses to eat, but it did keep the pasture looking beautiful all winter.
Oh, really?
With the ryegrass on it, so it made it very nice.
And it's also time to do one more thing outside, and that is plant bulbs. If you want springtime bulbs like daffodils, like tulips, many of them, you put them in right now. So you have to think ahead to get that beautiful spring show. But
so those are spring. They blossom out and bloom in the springtime.
But you plant them in the fall.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Now, in planting those, do you have to protect those bulbs? Do you need to cover them to be sure that they're warm and they're getting the heat from the ground that comes out?
Well, you're just going to, I don't think daffodils are the least bit picky. You can just kind of poke them in there. Yeah, they're going to be under the ground.
Sure.
But it's also a good practice to plant your bulbs and then put your pansies right over the top of where you put the bulbs. Now, the pansies are going to take you all through the winter and spring. And up between them are going to come the bulbs. And you've got a double show. You've just got you'll just look like the professionals visited.
Oh, that would be very nice.
So next to calling us to visit, you can do it yourself.
Well, certainly couldn't call y'all. I have to do it myself, and by no means am I a professional with plants. Now,
but you can fool people by doing that double planting, either in your containers or in your flower beds, and it is just gorgeous.
Yeah, my wife normally has around 90 or 90 to 100 different assortments of flowers in different areas and plants that that she works with very vigorously out there during the summertime. Of course, winter times it's too cold, but she needs to, and everyone viewing needs to, spend the time that's required to protect these plants.
That's right.
So that when spring comes along and then all summer you have beautiful flowers to enjoy.
You do. I mean, there's more to it than just beauty. It really sort of feeds your spirit, makes you happy to come home if you're coming home to a well-landscaped place, winter, summer, spring, or fall.
I haven't had that feeling before. I'll be glad when I get that. You know, mine is labor on those things.
Look how healthy you are.
Oh, well, I can't even grow a garden.
You would be a couch potato if you didn't have to help
Well,
her.
I probably would. Helen, is there anything else that comes to mind that you might want to tell the viewing audience of that they need to do, and they need to do it right away?
Well, one thing that I'm noticing at my house is that the birds are getting hungry, and so not only can you get bird feeders and attract them and have them close enough that you view them out the window while you're warm, they can be entertaining you. You can also think about planting more native plants in your landscape that will save you so much bird seed because you're providing the plants in the yard that they get food from.
My wife picks them all. She gets all the little seeds out of everything and collects them up and marks the bag of what she has there. So there's nothing left for the birds. I have to feed them.
So it is fun though to have attracting plants out.
Yes, it is.
For the wildlife.
It is fun, and it's nice to have the squirrels and the birds and the other animals that come around and feed off of these plants, as well as the beauty of those things. Helen, thank you so much for being here.
Well, it was my pleasure to be here.
And I think everybody knows what they need to do now. Get up off of that sofa, go fix those plants, and put them inside or protect them in some way for the winter.
Yes.
It's been my pleasure.
Thank you.
Say hello to the guys out of Garden Solutions.
I will do it.
All right. Thank you. It's Lee Newman. Thank you for visiting.
Hi, I'm Dr. Carrie Kirby. This is Tina Drews and Lefty with LaGrange Veterinary Hospital, and I have another winter pet care tip for you. It's important during the holidays when you're eating all that good food to avoid feeding it to your pets, especially things like bones from the turkey and stuff like that, as it can make them very sick. Also, when you're decorating for the holidays, if you're going to use things like icicles and ribbons, you want to avoid having those where your pets can get to them, as those can cause things like string foreign bodies. If you're going to use poinsettias to decorate with, then it's important to keep those where your pet can't get to them, as they can be very toxic like other household plants. If you have any other questions or concerns, please contact us.